This conference will now be recorded.
तमाम साथियों को या अली मदद. Welcome to our Saturday morning session. We'd like to welcome once again Rashida Saiba from London. She has been giving us a treasure of knowledge, the true knowledge of Imam Zaman, on the necessity of Imam in our Ismaili Tariqa. Today we have changed the subject to concept of shirk. At the request and the question that we had in our last Saturday morning session, and she has graciously agreed to deliver a lecture on this subject. So let me not take any more time. Welcome Rashida Saiba, Ya Ali Madad.
Mullah Ali Madad, all of you who are seekers of knowledge, who are following the Imam's guidance about personal search, I wish you all Ya Ali Madad in its true sense, that may Mullah Ali help me and all of you to understand Hakikati knowledge, the knowledge of certainty, the knowledge which is based on the Quran, the final revelation of Allah. Today's topic, Aziz Bhai is very complimentary. He always says very positive things. But actually, I felt after last week's question that this is not just a random question. This is a question which is very much in the mind of many members of our Jamaat all over the world, because we all have nowadays multi-faith friends, and some of our multi-faith friends may be saying things to us which we are not able to respond to, we are not able to defend our point of view because we do not have enough Quranic knowledge. I hesitated because I'm not sure on these Zoom sessions where there are so many people all at once, how many people have the background knowledge of the Holy Quran to understand what is a complex subject like shirk. But anyway, taking Mola's holy name, I am taking this subject on, and I'm going to see how far we can proceed with it. First and foremost, I would like to know from the people, there are 59 at this moment on my screen, Could I ask you to just put your hand up if you have been able to attend the previous 4 sessions of this series on Imam? Just put your hand up on the screen. Is that possible, Aziz? Or there is no hand here, is there?
Yes,
How can people indicate that
because
they have attended?
yes. So friends, you can turn on your video, or there is a way you can raise your hand, or you can send it in the chat. All right, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Thank you, Shirazba. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I would say it would be 75% or better on this line at this point. And we do have other line running on this side, and they are audio only, so they cannot see
Yes.
the video side.
Okay. Okay, so what was the number that you arrived at, Aziz?
So far, we have a 24. It says yes, but I would say about 75%.
75%.
Okay,
So,
there are more coming up, so about 32 now so far that have personally said yes.
okay. Okay, so this gives me an indication, right? Because I think this subject will be understood more by people who have attended and understood the previous 4 sessions. That was 4 hours of teaching. If you have understood that and you remember the points which are being made there, then it will be easier for you to understand today's subject. But this subject of shirk really, really requires all of us to have very, very important understanding of the Holy Quran, not only its Zahiri meaning, but its many, many levels of Batini meaning of what we say the ta'wil of the Quran, the ta'wil of the inner meaning, the esoteric meaning, the batin of the Quran. So I would request you all, those who are on this screen and those who are on the audio only facility, try to concentrate, try not to chat during this session if you possibly can, and inshallah in the question time we will be able to gauge how many of you have really understood this subject. So, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. What I intend to do is first give you a context, a background. I'm going to give a detailed background and then I will come to the subject of shirk. So, first and foremost, to begin with, we have to define what is shirk. I'm sure that if I were to ask anybody here, they will tell me straight away the general meaning which is in the community, which is that shirk means to ascribe partners to Allah, to God. And if you look at the dictionary meaning, the dictionary meaning in an Arabic dictionary, yesterday I checked the Oxford dictionary to see if this word is now in the English language, but they don't have it they have the English word shirk, which means to avoid something. So in the Arabic dictionary to English, the word is simply described as polytheism, more than one God. So polytheism is a dictionary meaning, and the general meaning which people discuss amongst themselves is to ascribe partners to God. So if we take this general meaning, we've got to first of all ask, do all Muslims, no matter who they are, do they all have the same concept of Allah or God? Do they understand what God is equally amongst themselves? I'm asking this question because we have seen that the Holy Quran has what is known as bipolar language. It talks in two ways. Last session we saw how, which was about wasila, you saw how you can prostrate to God, but you can, according to God's command, you have to prostrate to Adam. This is called bipolar. And apart from that, there are many other examples. For instance, one very famous example is that Allah tells us in the Quran that when He wants to create something, He simply says, kun, be, and it is. And then in other verses, He tells us that He created creation in 6 days. See, this is an apparent contradiction. Apparent. Yes, it's not a real contradiction. God is not contradicting Himself. This seems to us as though He is. It is an apparent thing. We think it is a contradiction. So we have to know about the Quran and its structure and its language. So now, what does the Quran say about God? Yeah, we are all very familiar with it in our dua, in the 6th part. And we know that this is the Surah 112 of the Holy Quran, Surah Ikhlas, that in this particular Surah, which is a very short one, it says, Kul huwallahu ahad, the oneness of God. He did not beget, nor was He begotten, and none is like unto Him. He is one, alone, unique. Nothing can compare to Him. Okay. But in the same Quran, which we also have in our dua, Allah says that He has a hand, and that hand is the Holy Prophet. Yadullahi fawqaydihim. We all recite this from Surah 48, Ayah 10. And apart from our dua now, there are other verses in the Quran which I would like to give you. Surah 28, Ayat 88. It actually says, Kullu shay'in halikun illa wajha. Everything is perishable except His, Allah's face. So we have Allah who has hand, He has face. In another ayat, He actually says He has 2 hands. In another one, He mentions eyes. And in another ayat, He mentions His tongue, lisanullah. Yes. In another ayat, He mentions jand, the side of the body. In another ayat, He mentions shin, which means the sack. In Arabic, it is sack. In English, it is shin. So do you see how many times in the Quran there are human attributes to God? God Himself gives human attributes. And in addition to that, there are ayats about He comes, He goes, He sits on His throne. These are all human things. So this is where the difficulty starts. That because of the Quran's language being bipolar, dual, then that itself creates differences amongst Muslims in understanding the real meaning of the Quran. So, first of all, I want to tell you something more about the diversity of interpretation amongst the Muslims, the Ummah. So, for instance, those who accepted these human characteristics like eyes, hand, chin, etc., these are known as the anthropomorphists, those who believe that Allah has human characteristics. And to give you just one example, you know that amongst the majority exoteric group, they have 4 what they call Imams. They are the heads of the 4 schools of jurisprudence, Hanifa, Shafi, Malik bin Anas, etc. I'm giving you one example of a group that believe that God has human characteristics, and they are the followers of the Malik bin Anas, and they accept these verses. Now, when they accept these verses, what happens? They are actually saying that those verses like Kul Huwallahu Ahad are not important because they have accepted lock, stock, and barrel. Wholeheartedly, they accept the verses which are about the human characteristics. Now, on the other hand, you see, I want to point out that our Jamaat may think that, there is a uniform interpretation amongst the exoteric majority. This is not the case. So amongst those who reject the human characteristics completely, they do not accept these ayats about eyes, hand, etc. There are one example of them are the Mu'tazila. Mu'tazila. They reject all the human attributes. They say God does not have any limbs or organs. So now we know of two examples. Yes, we are not going to go into more, just two examples. The followers of Malik bin Anas are anthropomorphists. They accept that God has hands, eyes, etc. And we have the Mu'tazila who reject that. And they say God is something who doesn't have all these human attributes. Now, so the question arises, did God send the Holy Quran to guide people or to confuse them and make them, grow into different interpretations? That's a question which we should all ask. Is the Quran a book of guidance, or is it a book that is being sent by Allah to confuse people and to make them contradict each other and to make them form groups and groups and groups with different views, with different interpretations? So now again we have to look to the Quran for an answer. And this answer is in Surah 16, ayat 43. And I have the whole here in front of me. I'm going to read it out to you. So Allah says, and we, the royal pronoun we, and we sent not, we did not send as our messengers before you, meaning he's talking to the Prophet Muhammad, and he's saying, we did not send messengers before you other than men whom we inspired. They were always men who had revelation, wahi, inspiration. So therefore, he is now talking to the ummah, the people, all people. He is saying, so ask the people of zikr if you know not. And in Arabic, the phrase is, Fas'alu ahla zikri in kuntum la ta'lamun. Surah 16, ayat 43, God is saying to people that if there is anything you do not know, anything you do not know, particularly in the Quran, then Allah is telling people, ask the Ahl al-Zikr, the people of remembrance. Who are there? They are the messengers and their progeny, the Imams. So this is the Quranic notion. This is the Quranic concept. And we have previous sessions, we have touched on the Surah 3, Al Imran, ayat number 7, which is very, very important. That this ayat tells you that the Quran has been revealed by Allah to the Prophet, that it has two types of verses in it, clear ones and allegorical ones. It also tells you that there are some people in the world who try to interpret or do the ta'wil of the allegorical verses, but because they want to cause discord, disharmony, they want to bring division into the community. So some people try to do that. But then it says, nobody knows the inner meaning, the ta'wil of the Quran except Allah and the rasikuna fil ilm, those who are firmly grounded in knowledge. And who are these rasikun fil ilm? They are the prophets and imams. So the Quran is telling us that the human beings will have questions about what is in the Quran, but at the same time, Allah has also provided the messengers, the Ahl Zikr, the Rasikun fil Ilm, the Ulil Amr, so that we can go and ask them if there is something which we do not understand about the Quran. And you know, in the Ismaili history and Ismaili Tariqa, this is very predominant. For instance, Maulana Ali, the first Imam of the cycle of Prophet Muhammad, he has a very famous saying, Saluni, qabla an tafkuduni. You know, from this statement of his, ask me before you lose me. So ask me, Saluni, and from it, Maulana Ali has a title. He is also called Sahib-e Saluni. Ask me. And it is also known in history that the Khalifas have said that if Maulana Ali hadn't been there to answer their questions about the Quran during their Khilafah, they would have perished. So there are many, many evidences about this, that Maulana Ali had said, ask me before you lose me. And I would like to share with you one small story which is about Maulana Ali. I am presently compiling an article about Maulana Ali because I know that the Jamaat doesn't have access to proper history of our Imams. And in this, I have also included another ayat, which is Surah 45, ayat 29. And in this ayat, Allah says, this is our book, speaks against you the truth. Haza kitabuna yantiku alaykum bil haq. This kitab speaks against you with truth. When Maulana Ali, there is a story, when Maulana Ali was reading the Quran with the people in his time, a small group used to gather for deeper knowledge. And Maulana Ali was reading the Quran. When he came to this Surah 45, Ayah 29, he closed the Quran and he put the Quran on his head. And he said to this Quran, the written Quran, he said, speak, intake, from the word yantiku, intake, 3 times, speak, speak, speak. This book, the Quran, the written Quran, did not speak. But who was speaking? Maulana Ali was speaking. This is a completely clear indication, and this is where we always have this description of the Imam as the Quran Natik, the speaking Quran. This is the background to that. So those people who rejected the ta'wil, although the Quran talks about ta'wil, the word ta'wil is mentioned 17 times in the Quran. And in this ayat, which we have just looked at again, Surah 3, ayat 7, the word ta'wil is twice in it. But there are 15 other mentions of the word ta'wil in the Quran, a total of 17. But there are people who reject these, who do not follow these at all. So when they say that, we can make up our own mind or we can choose whom we should ask, again, the example of that I'm going to give you, it's a very interesting example from the same person I have already mentioned, Malik bin Anas, one of the 4 so-called Imams of the Sunni majority. Malik bin Anas says, it is famously known that he mentions a Surah 20, ayat 5, in which it is said that Ar-Rahmanu istawa al arsh. That Ar-Rahman, the merciful, is established or sitting on his throne. What did Malik ibn Anas say to his followers? He said that this istawa, sitting, we know Allah is sitting on the throne because the Quran mentioned it. How he is sitting is unknown. It's majhul. We don't know how he is sitting. But to have faith in it is compulsory. And do not ask about it, because if you ask about it, this is bid'ah, this is innovation. You are committing a sin if you ask, how is God sitting on the throne? So this is the way such groups they interpret the Quran. They do not care to ask questions. But in the Ismaili Tariqa, I think you are all aware of Hazrat Imam's farmans for the last so many decades, that the Imam always emphasizes that our tariqa is a tariqa of the intellect. So asking questions is encouraged. Here, now I want to come to another question. So somebody must have already in their mind, why does God, I mean, we have had it on this session before. Somebody had asked the question, why has God made the Quran so difficult? Yeah. So you could turn that question and say, my question here would be, why has God used bipolar language? Two types of language, which to us seem like contradiction, but they are not really contradictions. Why has Allah done that? Because in the Holy Quran, Allah is talking about two dimensions. He's talking about the physical world and he's talking about the spiritual world. And the reference for that is Surah 7, Ayat 54, in which he says, Allah lahul khalq wal amr. Allah's are the creation and command. See, the Quranic language is not so easy to understand. You have to have knowledge of the previous Dai's explanations as well to really understand it. But this phrase, Allah, has two dimensions. You know, the whole ayat is pretty long. It says, 754, here we are. Lo, your Lord is Allah who created the heavens and the earth in 6 days. Then he mounted the throne. He covers the night with the day, which is in haste to follow it, and has made the sun and the moon and the stars subservient by his command. And then this short sentence, Allah lahul khalqu wal amr. His is the creation and the command. So there are two worlds, as I explained, physical world, spiritual world. The physical world is the world of creation, and the spiritual world is the world of command. Yes, and so there are, both these worlds are described in the Holy Quran. And who is going to know about the spiritual world? Only the Rasikun fil Ilm, or the Ulil Amra, or the Ahle Zikr, the progeny of the Holy Prophet, because they know the spiritual world. The spiritual world is in them, so they know it, and they know the physical world. Whereas all of us ordinary human beings, we only experience the physical world. Maybe there are a handful of people who have progressed in ibadat, and they have an inkling, they have a glimpse of the spiritual world, but the vast majority are not like that. And Allah has therefore always kept on the planet Earth amongst the human beings prophets and imams who will explain to us the world of command, the spiritual world, because the spiritual world is above time and space, whereas the physical world is within time and space. So this is why we have apparently contradictory verses, because we do not know which dimension do these ayats belong to. So the verses which we have used so far, Qul huwallahu ahad. which domain does this surah belong to? It belongs to the domain of the spiritual world. That this description of Allah is not to do with the physical world, it is to do with the spiritual world. And this is why our great Pir Sadruddin, he writes things like, Jene na nam, na tam, na rang, na roop. So he's saying that Allah is somebody who has no name, he has no space or place, he has no color, and he has no features, shape, roop, surat. But the same Pir then in another Dinar, he tells us, Ek fikar munivar amane che tamari, manas rupe sahib jaan. So he's pointing out to us that in the physical world, this Allah who has no name, no naam, no tam, when he manifests in the Imam, then he has all these things. And because he has all these things, he has a name, he has a place, he has a color, and he has a form, shape, that's when people think, oh, he is just like us. There's no difference between him and us. So we have to be very clear that when we talk about the physical world, then the manifestation will have all the attributes and the characteristics of the physical world. Now, take this quotation. Last time I requested whoever attends my series that they should read the chapter of Maulana Sultan Muhammad Shah in his memoirs. I don't know how many of you managed to do that. I will not start asking that. It is up to your own conscience to realize whether you did it or not. On page 178 of the English publication, British print, not the American, because the order is different. On page 178, Maulana Sultan Shah says, the Shias have therefore always held that after the Prophet's death, divine power, guidance, and leadership manifested themselves in Hazrat Ali. I repeat that sentence. You remember, Maulana Sultan Shah has written this book for the entire world. It is in the international language of the world, which is English. And what does he say? He says that after the Prophet's death, divine power, Allah's power, Allah's guidance, and Allah's leadership manifested themselves in Maulana Ali. Because Maulana Ali was in the physical world. So this had to be manifested. Now, I'm really happy that this session follows the previous one about the concept of wasila, intermediary, and I'm going to just revise it very quickly because many people are not attending the series all the time. In the previous session, we discussed in detail that Hazrat Adam was created by Allah himself and he had given Hazrat Adam the Surat-e-Rahman, the image of the compassionate, that Hazrat Adam was the copy of Allah, if you like, on this planet Earth, because here it is a physical manifestation. And we are told in the Quran that Allah had breathed his spirit into him. Allah had taught him all the names, all the knowledge, that Allah commanded the angels to prostrate to him. Yes? We had looked at the ayats about prostration. I had given you 41, 37, 2, 34, and 38, 72, and 75. All those ayats show that on the one hand, Allah says that you should not prostrate to the sun and the moon. But in the next ayat, he says to the angels, prostrate yourselves to Adam. And in the third reference which I had given, that when I have fashioned him and breathed my spirit into him, then fall down before him prostrate. And Iblis didn't do it, and so Iblis was driven away from the divine court. He became shaitan. We also looked at many other ayats under so many headings. And what did he find? That yes, you can obey God, but you have to obey the Prophet, Allah, the Prophet, and the Ulil Amr. If you want forgiveness, you have to go to the Prophet, and then only Allah will forgive you. Zakat, the Prophet has to take the zakat from you and then to give you dua to purify you and to make you grow. And if you want to love Allah, then you have to love the Prophet's progeny. If you want to do bayah, you have to do it on the hand of Allah, which is in the physical world, in a manifested form. You have to prostrate to Allah as well as to his Khalifa, his vicegerent, his Prophet or Imam. So everything related to Allah is through his Khalifa, through his physical manifestation. And also in my last session, I mentioned, to make it easy for you to understand, that the Imam, the meaning of intermediary wasila is that he's like a bridge. What is a bridge between? What are the two things he is connecting? He is connecting the world of command with the world of creation. So he is connecting divinity with humanity. He is a bridge. He has both the aspects. Now, this is where my background finishes, and it's taken me 25 minutes to just give you the background. So if you have all understood this background, which I have gone into detail, because without this background, you will not be able to understand what is shirk. So now I'm coming to the subject of what is this shirk? What is this ascribing partners to Allah? Is there such a thing? And what is its real meaning? So for this, I have a hadith for you of the Holy Prophet. This is an amazing hadith. Its words are really, really amazing. And also it is a hadith which is accepted by all schools of thought in Islam. In other words, it is not does not belong to only one or the other group. It is accepted by everybody. And in fact, if you want a reference from the Sunni side, then this is Jalaluddin Suyuti in his book called Jamul Sagir, which means a shorter compilation of hadith. I'm not going to bother with the Arabic because this might just take too much time as well. I'm just going to give you the English. The Prophet says, shirk in my community, ummati, shirk in my community is more hidden, akfa. You know the word kafi, hidden. He's using the superlative, the comparative, more hidden. It is more hidden than what? Than the treading, the walking of a black ant on a black rock in a very dark night. I'm pausing here so that these words should sink into your understanding and memory. The Prophet, the Holy Prophet himself said, shirk is so hidden in my community that it's like the walking of one little black ant on a black rock in a black dark night. It's a very hidden thing. What people think shirk is not really shirk. It is so hidden that they themselves do not know that they are practicing it. It's so hidden. So now we have to look at how do you understand this. So to understand this from the hadith, we know that this means that there must be an open shirk and then there must be a hidden shirk, right? So this open shirk, which people accuse each other of doing, is saying, oh, you are ascribing to partners to God. And this is not correct because He is above everything. So we ask ourselves questions that if Allah is above everything, if Allah is really Allahu Akbar, yeah, Allah is greater than, and He is Subhanallah, no attributes can be given to Him, na rang, na roop, na naam, na tham, then how can you say such and such a person is same as Allah? There's no comparison. And I had mentioned that in my answer in the previous question to the question about shirk. I had said that you can only use the word shirk when you compare two homogeneous, two things which you can compare. Like you can compare two human beings, but you can't compare a human being to a donkey or to a lion or to an elephant. They are not the same species. They are different. So in the same way, I want to remind you of my previous, not the Wasila one, but the one before that session. You remember that I actually quoted the story of Maulana Rumi about the parrot who broke a bottle of precious oil and his master hit him on his head. He became bald. He fell silent. And then one day a bald darwish, a human being. I hope you all understand what a darwish is. Not a beggar, but a very religious person who is, completely unaware of this world, right? A darwish was walking past and he was bald. So this parrot, the bird, actually comes back to his language and he says, oh, bald man, did you also break the bottle of oil of your honor, master? And everybody laughed because a parrot, a bird, is comparing himself or itself to a human being. You cannot do that. So we say that shirk is only possible when He, Allah, is in the manifest form, of a prophet or an Imam. That's when shirk is possible. So what Iblis did when he refused, he was saying, Ya Rabbi to God, oh my sustainer, oh my Lord. But he refused to bow down, to prostrate to Adam. Why? Because he and Adam were alike. They could be compared. He was comparing himself to Adam, and he was finding himself superior to Hazrat Adam. He was being arrogant. So that is shirk. And this is why Maulana Rumi, I had quoted it because this is something which I learned a long time ago, although I don't know much Farsi. Jumla alam zin sabab. Gumrah should. The whole world has gone astray. Why? Kam kasi zabdali haq agash. Because they look at the prophets and imams, the awliya of God, and they say, oh, they are human beings. We are human beings. We are equal. This is shirk. But they don't even know that they are committing shirk. It is so hidden. So what I need to end with now, so that there is some time for questioning is as well, this is called shirk e khafi, which the Prophet describes in this amazing hadith, which I've already quoted to you twice. And this means that when human beings reject the Khalifa, the vicegerent, the intermediary between human beings and God, they reject him. And sometimes they choose their own leader. Sometimes many times, not sometimes, many times they choose their own leaders. This is the real shirk, because you cannot do shirk between a human being and Allah, who has no attributes, who is about everything. He is in the world of command. He is absolute. He is one. He has no rang, no nam, no tam. So, throughout history, Iblis was not the only one who went astray because of this. Throughout history, we all know the story of Hazrat Habil being martyred by his own brother Kabil, because he was not ready to accept that Habil had the Spirit of God, the Ruhul Allah, he had the knowledge of God, right? And throughout history, particularly our history, because we are the ones who believe in the continuity of Imamat, throughout history from Maulana Ali, others have challenged and others have taken on themselves what was really the right of the Imams. I'm not going to give any names because, we have Maulana Hazri Imam tells us that we are now living in a time of pluralism and we have to have mutual respect. So I'm not going to name names, but all of you, even if you have very little knowledge of history, you know that so many imams were rejected, and in fact somebody else was put in their place. Okay? So this is shirk, not what the Ismailis are doing. Not what the Ismailis are doing. When the Ismailis prostrate to the Imam, that is according to Allah's command, which is in the Quran. When the Ismailis obey the Imam, this is in the Quran. This is a command of God. When the Ismailis love the Imam, this is in the Quran. This is God's command. When Ismailis do bayah on the hand of the Imam, this is according to the Quran. If Ismailis give zakat, the son to the Imam, this is according to God's command in the Quran. Anything you wish to say, it is all there. Whatever we Ismailis do to our Imam is all substantiated by proof from the Holy Quran. And therefore, I hope that today you will all have realized that we need much more knowledge of the Holy Quran and Hadith, and that we need to, through this knowledge, we have to have the confidence that we are on the Sirat al-Mustaqim, and that what we are doing is according to Allah's command. What others do, because we live in a world of pluralism, we have to say, and this is what the Quran also says, to you your faith, and to us ours. Lakum dinakum waliyadin. This is in Surah Kafirun, which Maulana Hazrat Imam has quoted twice in his firmans. To you your faith, and to us our faith. We should practice our faith with that confidence and that certainty, but the certainty cannot come without knowledge, and confidence cannot come without certainty and knowledge. And I'm going to finish right at this point now and allow for any questions. I can't hear you, Aziz Bhai.
Now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So we have two questions in our chat. If you can see those chat. The first one is, can you shed some light on concept of Ali Allah, please?
It really amazes me. Last time, one question was asked after 40, 50 minutes of talking about shirk. And now we have seen that it has taken me a whole lesson, a whole session to explain about shirk. And I do not know if all of you have understood it the way I wish you to understand it. Yeah. Now you are asking another conceptual, very important question about Ali Allah. if you have attended all the sessions, if you have not, try and go through them. They are available. I think Aziz Bhai will tell you. And try and answer your own questions yourselves. I think this is what I would encourage you to do. I think it's very important that we ourselves study. Look, I want to actually read out because I also identified this farman of Maulana Sultan Shah. I have used it before as well. This is a 1967 Bombay farman, right? And Maulana Hazir Imam, he said, if you recite parts of the Quran, certain words must represent to you a concept. A concept. If you study the Quran Sharif, this concept, if you study the Quran Sharif, this concept will become well known to you and through you to the Jamaat at large. This takes many years of study. This takes many years of study. I do not want you to think that this can be learned easily or without hard work. And I think we need to cultivate this habit of hard work. You know, you have asked me this question about Ali Allah, but I don't know how many of my sessions you have attended. And I don't want to give these off the cuff answers, okay?
So she made a comment on this question. She says, in my family, we were taught the concept of Ali Allah, and then we go to REC, which is our religious centers, and then categorically, all the teachers have refused and denied. That's why my confusion come from.
Yeah, exactly. You see, if we don't have knowledge, if we don't have our own knowledge on the Quran, Ginans, Hadith, then this is exactly that you hear two sides of a story and you can't understand which is the correct one. Yeah. And this is where the intellectual challenge comes, that you have to have this knowledge. So now let me tell her, because she has explained why she asked this question, is that in the 1945 All Africa Ismailia Association Conference in Dar es Salaam, which is now Tanzania, Maulana Sultan Muhammad Shah actually said that the concept of Ali Allah is not wrong, but you people, you know, there were all the elders of the Jamaat, all those chairmen and secretaries of the Ismailia Association. You people are ignorant, he said. You are ignorant. So now, if Imam himself said that the concept of Ali Allah is not wrong, but you are ignorant, we are ignorant, right? So now let us acquire knowledge. And I think this knowledge is in all the sessions which I have given. And I've just said, so in this present session, that when Allah manifests in the human form, in the physical world, now, if now somebody says, oh, Allah and Imam, and they see two different things, then Maulana Rumi actually says that such people have an eye condition called diplopia, which means the thing is one, but these people have a defect in their eyes, so they see two things. But the thing is one. So now it's up to you to go through all these sessions, learn more from the Quran about the hakikat of the Imam. It would be important first to understand that we teach our Jamaat not to look at the Imam only as a human being, like Pir Sadruddin said in his Ginan. He is not only a human being. That's the first step. And then later on we can talk about higher concepts. Okay?
I will share your second session, maybe all of the session, because in the second session, you have talked about this example of human and the difference between human and the Imam. So we have sent her a link on this side over here. Thank you. The next one is comment and question or verification, I would say. So the person writes, I don't have the name, so I don't know he or she. Wakule Shein, meaning Allah or His Nur, is in the Imam Mubin. That is clearly said. Is that correct?
Yes, Wakulla Shain. Wakulla Shain. Look, I've just earlier given you this ayat. Let me just go and see. Right, where is it now? If I can find it, yes. It's in the. We have to go through all the notes as well, but I mentioned, yeah, Kullu Shayin Halikun illa Wajha. This is Surah 28, Ayat 88. I repeat again in Arabic. Kullu Shayin. You see the second word in this ayat? Shayin, everything. Kullu is every, Shayin is thing. Halikun is perishable. Illa Wajha, except his face. So in this ayah, Shay, God includes himself in this word Shay. He's saying everything will perish except the face of Allah. And then we have our, the ayat from Surah 4, 59 in the dua, Surah 36, ayat 12, وَكُلَّ شَيْءٍ أَحْصَيْنَاهُ فِي إِمَامٍ مُبِينٍ. So the word Shayn is there as well. So that tells you quite clearly that Allah Himself is telling us that in the physical world, everything is in the Imam. Yes.
Subhanallah, Subhanallah, Subhanallah. We don't have any more written question, but Kamle Sahib, can we unmute and give people chance to ask question, please?
Sure. Friends, if you have any questions, please unmute your device.
Until someone asks question, I agree with you, Rashid Sahib, but this subject is such a hard subject, and even with all the references, and if someone had not listened to all 4 of the previous lectures on this necessity of Imam or centrality of the Imam in our tariqah, it would be really, really hard to understand. So I would request all the listener to listen to all 4 and then this session once again for us to understand completely, because it's not an easy subject, but a really, really hard and deep subject with a lot of meanings hidden behind it. So go ahead. I saw someone trying to unmute. Sorry, I had taken your place. Go ahead.
I'm on the network connection as well. So where are
Okay,
we at now?
so look like there is one more question. I'm not sure why he or she cannot speak. I see her trying to talk. Okay, so here she's posting this on the chat now. My question is that I am in the very beginning stages of my spiritual journey. Sometimes I experience that some beings are with me and talk to me, not as a verbal words, but telepathically. I am not afraid, but is it okay? I don't understand the question. If you do, Rashid Sahaba.
I think all I can say to this lady is that hers is a very specific question about her own personal experiences. And I don't know if this is the forum in which she should be asking that. But what I suggest to her is that she should go to the Ismaili literature website, look at the books which are available in English. They are my husband and my translations. They are the books of Allama Nasiruddin Nasir Hunzai. Allama Sahib has actually gone through the ultimate spiritual journey, and therefore his writing will help you to answer your question.
All right. So looks like we have no other questions,
Yes,
and
I'm
I
not
don't see
surprised,
any
Aziz
hands.
Bhai. Like you
Yes.
said, this is a very, very difficult topic, but we didn't want to shy away from it. We, like I said, if the answers are not in the Ismaili Tariqa where we have a living Imam, where can the answers be? The answers are here, but these answers you cannot get from a 1 hour session once a week. You have to study. That's why I quoted the Farman of Maulana Hazar Imam from the Precious Gems of 1967. It takes many years of study. It really amazes me that in our Jamaat, people are so keen to go to colleges and universities and get degrees. They are ready to work hard for a degree which will be no good to them after they pass away from this world. But when it comes to religious knowledge, to hakikati knowledge which will go with them in their souls, they don't want to spend too much time, right? So this is a conundrum. It's a difficult position, and I think we have to say to our students who come on this, we appreciate that you have taken time to come here, but I'm asking you now, I'm not expecting an answer. I suggested you should all read the memoirs chapter. How many of you did that? I don't think many of you. I don't want an answer, but I know that not many people will have done that because I think there may be a lot of reliance on listening to people as well, right? We want to encourage a culture of reading and contemplation and reflection and practicing zikr and ibadat so that we can progress more, right? Don't just become dependent on the sessions of people and then their answers, right? I feel very strongly about this, right? Because I have seen it in my own personal life that it is only when I took the trouble to learn, to read, and then gradually I progress to what I can do today. Yes, it takes many years of study, as Imam said, many years of study. So that's
I agree with you 100%. So we have one good comment, the difficult topic, but you have made it very clear after having heard your previous lectures. Thank you. And this comment was from Moise. Thank you.
Yeah,
So,
I would like you to send me the comments of those people who have found it difficult as well, so that in future we know what the background of our students, our listeners are, right? It's important to have that information as well for a speaker, isn't it? Yeah?
yes, I agree, and we will send, we have a few comments. Okay. So another request for another lecture on higher conscience from Kamal. So inshallah, if they have no other question related to today's subject or on the necessity and centrality of Imam, then we will thank the, okay, is there another question?
Can you hear me?
Ji, go ahead, please.
Hi, Yali Madat Rashida Banu. Um, thank you so much. That was very enlightening. My just a thought is that you like you said at the beginning of your session today that we do not know or we do not have enough knowledge to respond to people who say that we are actually committing shirk.
Yes.
So the people who ask these questions, they are you talking about Ismailis or non-Ismailis?
And this blame of practicing shirk is always thrown at Ismaili Jamaat.
Okay, so in that case, the people who throw these questions, they do not have knowledge about how we, about the deep knowledge that we go into, and then whatever responses or whatever information you gave today is what we can actually tell them about.
Yes,
So
yes.
would it not be something that somebody who is as knowledgeable as you about our faith having a kind of a debate a debate with somebody who is as knowledgeable from their point of view, like somebody what would you call a sheikh or haji in the other Muslim denominations, and we have a debate about what they have to say about how we interpret it, and that would be very enlightening for all of us to see both views from enlightened or knowledgeable people from both sides, rather than just like Ismaili to Ismaili.
The need, Azim, actually is within the Ismaili Jamaat, right? Because the Ismaili Jamaat, particularly the Ismaili Jamaat, which is from the so-called Khoja tradition, have very little knowledge of the Holy Quran, right? Um, uh, your idea is very good, but throughout our history, Ismailis, when they have tried to have debates with others, I think you are not, Azim, aware of what happens to Ismailis when they do that. Yes, we have a very famous poet called Rudaki. Because he was an Ismaili and believed in the Imam, he had his eyes eyes pierced and he became blind. We have another great guy called Malik bin um, what's his name? Attash. Malik bin Attash. Dai was skinned alive. Okay, so Ismailis have tried in the past and they have not succeeded. In fact, they have suffered great trauma. And today we live in a world where this is not, these type of polemics are not encouraged. Look at our Imam's policy. Yeah, he actually used that phrase from the Holy Quran. To you, your faith. To me, my faith. From the Holy Quran, Surah Kafirun, twice in a farman. Once in Pakistan, once in Mozambique. So that gives us the indication that, those days are gone. Now people have a lot more information at their hands and they can judge for themselves. This is why from the time of Maulana Sultan Muhammad Shah Salwatullahi alayhi, he stopped the work of dawah, he stopped the work of conversion. We Ismailis we do not convert other people to our faith at all. It's up to them. If they wish to come, they can apply. But we do not do that anymore. So circumstances are very different, okay? And I think that somebody who for 1400 years has rejected the concept of a living divine guide to convince them that they should think differently, I think is very difficult. The burden of the load of historical thinking is too heavy. I don't know if you agree with me, Azim, or not.
Yeah, well, basically, so what I think what you are saying is that if you have the faith of what our Imam says, or if you have that faith in you, then, nobody can actually convince you otherwise. But,
Exactly.
that is the whole crux of the matter, like you can
Yes,
have an intellectual conversation with intellectual people on both
yes,
sides, and you can come to an agree, you can agree to disagree, basically. But
yes,
if you have faith, then that doesn't make any difference. Like you have your own conviction about what our Imam is,
yeah,
and
exactly.
yeah. So
Yes,
I think once you have that faith, then. But what I was just thinking was, like today, like you said, the Imam says intellect and pluralism, those kind of terms.
yes,
When you talk about pluralism and then you talk about intellect, I think the generations which is coming up now is, a lot of there's a lot of dialogue which they talk about. It's not fanatical like before, and I'm just saying, like from an interested party, it might be an idea just to have an intellectual conversation or intellectual debate without and then ending the debate with you agree to disagree, because in the end it's a question of faith, and the faith, probably in what I have understood is coming through the knowledge which comes through the spiritual world, like when people go into meditation and they get enlightenment, like the Imam says, that you will be touched by the light. That light probably is knowledge that you will get, and then that'll give you happiness.
yes,
So that is something which is inbuilt. I mean, no matter, it doesn't matter how much debate or how much conversation you have. In the end, it's just your faith which matters, and
exactly,
that intellectual
exactly,
conversation is
Azim.
just a kind of
Yes,
a, for somebody to see both sides, and then they can make their own decision. But in the end, they have to go towards, the inner journey that we have, the whatever our Imam has given us, which I think is, we are unique to having that
yes,
uh, access from our Imam.
yes,
But this is what my thinking was, just for the younger generation who can actually using their intellect, listening to both sides, and then making an informed path forward. That was my idea. That's all. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, no, but you're quite, well, there are one or two things I would have to say to you. First and foremost, we are very lucky, we are very blessed. We have Imam, his talim lights our path to spiritual enlightenment and didar. But this again, Azim, is not clearly understood that in order to advance in ibadat, you need knowledge also. You first need knowledge. First, you need absolute yaqeen, certainty about who the Imam is, right? If you are not certain about who the Imam is, and you practice your Isma Azam, this is not going to work very much for you, right? So you do have to. And I don't know where you are from, Azim, but in Canada in 1992, Maulana Hasan Imam had addressed a leadership at the institutional dinner, and he had said the future generations in North America, they will, when they are old enough, they will ask about the tariqah. And when they ask about the tariqah, they will say, what about the Imam? It was I who suggested to the people who run this platform that we should have a series on Imamat, okay? Because
Mhm.
I know from my experience as an Alwaiza how lacking in knowledge our Jamaat is about the Imam. They are constantly, they are being distracted by his physical appearance. As recent as last week when the Imam addressed the gathering on Zoom about receiving the charter for the AKU from Kenya government, you know, people were discussing it, and what were they commenting on? the fact that the Imam looks older and he's slowing down and his words are not so clear, etc., etc. It is amazing what people think about the physical side of the Imam. They have no business. If they had knowledge, they would not make such comments. And, it is not the Imam's body that's divine. It's his nur that is divine. And that is something that many people in the Jamaat. So I would rather spend my time on our Jamaat than, for outsiders, quite honestly. And the very fact that Ismaili Tariqa is, they're highly intellectual, highly esoteric, highly spiritual. This is why it is in the minority and has been throughout history. But then that has not something which has deterred us. Maulana Sultan Wash has famous words. One true moment is worth 100,000 weak moments.
Yes,
It's about personal thing. As in, we should have knowledge and satisfaction and certainty about who we are, why do we follow the Imam, right? And the rest is,
yes, I understand that. Yeah,
Thank you
one of
so
the
much.
yeah, okay, all right, that's fine. I think you probably have some other questions, so I'll leave
Thank
it
you,
at that.
Azim.
You're welcome.
Thank you so much for your great
Azim,
comments.
you can, if you like, get my email and you can be in contact with me. I'd be happy to discuss a few things, but my purpose here is really to really energize more members of our Jamaat to turn to knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Rites and ceremonies are wonderful, but we haven't had those for 1.25 years.
Right.
This pandemic's hidden blessing is knowledge. But knowledge doesn't, like I said before, doesn't just come from listening. It also comes from personal study.
Of course, yes. Okay, I will try and be in touch with you. Thank you so much for that.
Okay. All right. So,
Thank you so much. I think we should stop here. We have a lot of comments. We will share that with you in the email. But I don't see any other question. And I know normally we allow about an hour and 15 minutes. And thank you so much for all your time. I know you have other sessions coming up later on today. Thank you again. Inshallah, we'll see you next week. Thank you everybody for joining us.
Yes. About next week, because next week I'm going to round off this entire series and I'm going to talk about the essential and the historical roles of the Imam as well as the continuity or the perennial need of Imamat. Okay?
So are we talking about the Imam al-Nas and Imam al-Muttaqim?
Yes, that concept as well as the continuity or the constant need of Imamat. Yeah, we'll combine that as one topic and round off this whole series, inshallah, and pray that this series is really understood by everybody who has attended and that they share some of these points with their family members, their circle of friends and others in the Jamaat.
Thank you so much. Thank you everybody for joining us. May Mola be with you. Thank you. Ya Ali Madad.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.